So sorry the video's in two parts here, but I'm going to do the inside part of the video now. So if we go through into the cab, so the cab itself in this particular vehicle, apart from being really nicely sort of designed and fabric lined everywhere, including the ceiling as well, it is a very nice high spec. So you've got the 6-speed manual gearbox here, where reverse is lift up on the back, over and up to the top left hand side. You've then got cruise control from this bottom left hand stalk here, and your indicators and lights on the left hand stalk. You then got your washers and wipers on the right hand side. You've got a pretty big storage locker down here, in case you didn't see that already, and a drinks holder down there. These vents, there are some on the other side as well, exactly the same, but the vents here, you've got 2 for heating, so this one here and the one at the front, and this one here is a speaker. You then also got the air conditioning from this switch just here, hazard lights, front and rear fog lamps. You've got your ASR switch in this one, and you've got your lock and unlock for the cab. You've got as well this little switch just down here, which has been fitted for the reversing camera. So if you want to use the reversing camera, make sure that you've got that switch turned on. Now, the other thing that I need to point out about this vehicle, it's a good thing, not a bad thing, is that you've got the double-din head unit here. It's a Pioneer head unit. Now, the reason I'm explaining this, I wouldn't normally go into any detail about them, is that if I turn the ignition on now, I'm not going to do it because I've got a few bits working in the back end of the vehicle, but if I turn the ignition on, the radio will come on and it will turn off with the ignition just like normal. Okay, so that's from the engine battery. However, if I want to use the stereo, now because again, I know I've probably said it already a few times, but because this is a really high spec conversion company, Knaus, very good, you can actually use the stereo via the leisure battery system instead. So if you did want to use the stereo and you wanted to have the speakers in the back end, so you got speakers there, there's another one in there. I don't know if there'll be any in the back or not. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. There might not be in this particular one, but point is, you can use the stereo from this switch here. So I'm going to turn that on, and hopefully, there you go, stereo comes to life, and we can then use it. All right, so we can then turn this on. We can get the radio coming on. Find a station. There you go. Not my normal choice of music, if I'm honest with you. But there you go. So now, point I'm trying to make is that we're using this currently from the leisure battery and the radio switch, which is just in there. So if you ever come to turning the radio off and you can't get it to turn off, it's probably because you've got that switch there on. Okay, so now I can turn this off. From there, radio gets turned straight off. So the idea behind that, as I said, is that you can use that without draining out your engine battery, and you can have the radio working as you're sat in the back end of the vehicle. All right, so it's just a nice little thing. I just thought I'd point that out because you probably come across that switch in there one day and try, won't know what it's for. So that is that. So that's the cab and the radio system there. We've then got, in fact, before I do that, I'm just going to show you one thing first, because I've already fallen down this hole once. I don't want to do it again. So down here, we've got access to both waste and freshwater tanks. So the idea behind having the access here is that you can kind of get in and clean these out if you want to. But it also means that because they're in this sort of cavity, so at the moment they're in the cavity between the bottom floor and this floor that we're standing on, it also means that you get an extra sort of layer of protection for the tanks, because normally, on your average motorhome, the tank will be underslung underneath the vehicle, so completely exposed to the elements, whereas these ones are never ever going to be exposed to the elements at all due to that secondary floor. So having access to the fresh tank just there, and the waste tank is the black one. So I just thought I'd point that out to you. That's what that is there. And you've then also got the other one next door to it here, which is just access to storage in that double skin floor, as I said about outside. Okay, still waiting on the little gas strut for the pop-up TV section here. We will have that today, fingers crossed, and it'll all be sorted by this afternoon. But there you go. So I'm now going to go on to the control panel and the heating system. So what you've got is probably the world's most simple and straightforward control panel, which I really like. So all you've got really, I'm just going to turn these lights off. So what you've got is a main on and off switch just here. So you can turn it on and off just by pressing the button there, and that will turn any 12 volt power off to all of your 12 volt appliances. If you scroll over to the right, you've got the fresh water level. So at the moment it's showing us that the fresh water tank is completely empty, which we know is true. And the wastewater level there as well, so also completely empty. If I scroll once more, we then get over to the water pump switch, which I can turn on and off if I want to from there. Okay, now you've got what's called a submersible pump in this vehicle. So submersible pumps are water pumps that sit inside the water tank and get submersed in the water, hence the name. So the idea behind a submersible pump is that it will only ever physically run if you open up a tap and get the micro switch, which is inside the tap here, which you can probably hear opening up, to physically run the pump. Okay, so even if, the reason that pump switch was left on, even if we leave the pump switched on all the time, it will only ever run when I open the tap. So all the time that I'm not using a tap, you're not using the pump, even if it's switched on at the control panel. Okay, if you had a normal inline pump which works on pressure, you would absolutely, well, you shouldn't leave the pump switch turned on like that. But because you've got a submersible pump, it just doesn't really matter. Scroll once to the left and we see the leisure battery voltage, so at 12.5 volts. I've not got the hookup plugged in, and actually I've got pretty much all the lights on. I've got the heating working, I've got the fridge working, so just going to prove that your leisure batteries are in really good condition. There is a solar panel on the roof. I believe the controller for it is behind this cover here, if it's not somewhere obvious. I couldn't see it, but so yeah, just showing you that the leisure battery is in really good nick. And also the engine battery there, 12.7. I wouldn't be surprised if that's wired up to the solar as well, because 12.7 for a resting battery voltage is pretty good. So that is your voltages on the left, your fresh and wastewater levels on the right. If you have the hookup plugged in, you will have this little light here come on to tell you that it's working. And if the little pump is lit up like it is now, it means that the power to the pump is on. And to turn that off, we do that. Okay, so that is the control panel. That is literally all there is to it. You've then got, to the left of that, if I just show you here, there's a little switch just here, which I believe is for the awning light outside. And above that is your thermostat for the boiler, or just the kind of the temperature gauge for this system here. Okay. So this is what you call a Truma iNet Ready system. Okay, so the iNet Ready system is one of the more modern Truma systems. The boiler itself is relatively simple, in all honesty, and there isn't a huge amount to them. I think the boiler sits, where does it sit? Behind there somewhere, I think. So the iNet Ready systems, sometimes some people can get a little bit confused as to how to use them, but I'm going to try my best to explain it nice and clearly. So in all honesty, there's not a huge amount to it. all you need to do is remember what these little symbols at the top mean. So all the time that we're on this main screen here, which is the one that will come up when you first press the button, you're hovering over whatever one you're on, you're hovering over, and it's flashing, okay? So the first one here on the left-hand side is heating. So this is the heating on the inside of the vehicle, and then it'll ask you what temperature you want it to be set to. So I'm just going to choose 24, just for example, okay? So because this little thermostat here has recognized that the temperature inside this van is a hell of a lot lower than 24, it has decided that the boiler needs to come on. The heating needs to come on. Okay, so I'm then going to scroll over the next one, which is our water heating. Now, I know for a fact that there's no water inside the boiler because I've just shown you the boiler drain outside. So I'm not actually going to turn this on. But if I wanted to turn it on, and I'll show you what you need to do before doing this in a minute, but if I wanted to turn this boiler on the hot water, I would hover over the hot water one here, click it, and then either go to 40, 60, or boost. Okay, that is your 3 options for hot water. Now, sometimes on the older models it would say eco, high, and boost. Same thing, just 40, 60, or boost. And it just essentially just depends what sort of a hurry you're in for hot water. The next one is keep going on that one. The next one over is your energy selector. So we're on gas at the moment. Now, because I haven't got the hookup plugged in, I can actually only use gas anyway. So gas is the only one I can select right now, which is why it's on gas only. If I did have the hookup plugged in, I could, if I get the home screen back up, if I did have the hookup plugged in, I could choose electric 1 or electric 2, which will basically just start making the boiler work via your electric element only. Okay, so no gas, just electric. And the reason that you've got electric 1 and electric 2 is that electric 1 will draw about 4 amps of electric power, and electric 2 will draw about 8. All right, so 4 or 8 amps. If you're plugged into a 10 amp pole at a campsite, you might want to think about that. So if you're going to have your electric 2 function on up here, if you're plugged into a 10 amp pole, you're already going to be drawing about 8 amps of that power just from this Truma system. If you're on electric 2, that is. You've then also got to bear in mind, so if you are on electric 2 and you're drawing that amount of power, you've got 2 amps left to play with after that if you are plugged into a 10 amp pole. It will say this on your habitation sheet, but the battery charger will probably be drawing about half an amp. If you've got the fridge on electric, that's going to be drawing about an amp. So, you're going to be pretty close to the maximum if you've got that on electric 2. So, point I'm trying to make is that, in all honesty, you will be better off using just electric 1. If you are going to use it on just electric, I would recommend just using electric 1, because then you haven't got to worry so much about the amount of power that you're drawing at once. But as I said, on your habitation sheet, it should run you through that on the electrical systems part, and just explain to you what that means basically. So you can also use on the energy selector, you can also have mix 1 and mix 2, which, as you can see by this little dial at the little symbol at the top, is gas and electric. So that's just basically gas and either electric 1 or electric 2. But for the moment, because I said, I've only got the gas on at the moment, I don't have the hookup plugged in, I can only use gas. So at the moment, we've got the heating working, which is why we've got a little gas flame flashing. We've got a gas bottle here, and we've got low fan speed here. So at the moment, even when this screen's completely off like it is now, I know that the heating's on, it's working on gas, and we're on low fan. If I had the hot water on electric only, all I would have is the hot water symbol here and the electric symbol here. So that can, this screen always tells you if it's working and it's doing something, it will always tell you at the top there what it's doing. Okay, so that is the Truma system there. As I said, to be completely honest, it can be a little bit confusing to try and sort of get your head around to, and in fact it's a little bit awkward to explain, but once you've used it a few times and you've got got to grips of what those little symbols mean, it will just be like second nature. So easy. Right, to the right of this, you've got your satellite controller. So to use the satellite, we will press the button just here. It will say activate, and after a few seconds, it will probably start lifting itself up. Wherever that might do it. Initialize antenna, open. So, wherever it is, where is it? There it is. So it's just opening up and it will start spinning around. Okay, so now it's auto searching for Astra 2, and it should just turn itself off and lock in place when it, when it gets to it. All right, so that's how you use that. When you want to put the antenna away, or the satellite away, press the same button that I pressed at the beginning, which has a little satellite dish on it. Press that one, it will say retracting, and what it will do is it will spin back round to its original position and lay down flat. Once it retracts all the way, it will turn the screen off as well, and that is all you have to do. Okay, so I'll press that one again then, and it'll say retracting. And as I said, it'll go back to its original. There you go, it's already going down. And then the screen will turn off. There you go. So that's how you use the Oyster satellite controller. Obviously in a real life situation you would let that actually lock onto its signal, but in this case I don't really want to have to wait for it, so so there you go. Right, so you have got two seat belts here for these seats, just behind here. Really they should be in front of this. The headrests are out because you need to have them out to close this over here. Right, so as I was saying up there with the boiler, when it comes to using it for the hot water, what you've got, or what you have to do, is first off make sure that you've got some water in the fresh tank. Okay, so at the moment we wouldn't really be able to do this at all because we haven't even got any water in the fresh tank at all. So you would need to, in this situation now where it's so cold and we've had to winterize the van, you would go outside, turn off or lock off the close off the freshwater drain off point, fill the fresh tank up, and then come over to your tap here and draw the water through. All right, assuming that you've obviously first of all turned your pump on like that. You've checked that you've got some fresh water in the tank, so this would be showing us up some fresh water. You can then come over to the tap and draw the water through. Okay, so the way that you have to do this, and the way to make sure that your boiler is full, is draw the water through on the cold side, which is normally to the right, and then draw it through to the hot side, which will be to the left. And what will happen is, I can guarantee this will happen when you first try and do this now, when you pick the vehicle up. Because the boiler is empty at the moment, once you've closed the boiler drain off and start trying to fill the boiler up, like I'm going to show you now, you'll get air coming through the tap to start with. Okay, you'll get nothing but air because the boiler will be completely empty. Once the boiler is full, you will then get nice pressurized water coming through the tap here, and you'll then be able to use the boiler as you want to. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. But essentially, draw the water through here and wait for it to start coming through. When it does start to come through, that means that your boiler's full up and you can go ahead and use it exactly as you want to on the controller. Okay, you've got 3-burner hob, so the ignitions are just like a household cooker. You literally just push it in to get the igniter to work. So push in and round to the left to get any one of those to light up. Another nice thing about this van is that I can imagine they probably had a bit of a deal with Dometic when they were building it, because you've got Dometic 3-burner hob, Dometic oven and grill, Dometic fridge, Dometic toilet and cassette. So Dometic, Thetford, whatever, all just kind of big brands in the business. But Dometic do make some really nice high spec sort of appliances and things. And this particular vehicle, even down to little things like the skylight here is one of the ones with the lights in it. I mean, these skylights alone are about £1,000, so to have the one with the lights in it is also a nice thing. Right, so you've got I'm just trying to see if there's anything else to show you just here. So the fridge is the next bit I'll run you through. Now the fridge, again, like the iNet Ready system, because this is a nice modern high-spec sort of fridge system, it can be a little bit difficult to get to grips with if you haven't used one before. So this is it's an AES fridge, okay, which means automatic energy selecting. And essentially what that means is that it will automatically select an energy for you if you want it to. All right, so at the moment, quite cleverly, it's chosen gas for us straight away. And gas is the only way I can use the fridge at the moment because, well, obviously I've got the gas on. I don't have the hookup plugged in, which is this one here, and I don't have the engine running. Okay, so gas is the only way I can use the fridge at the moment. I'll turn it off for a second so I can show you it working from the beginning. So because I had this on automatic the last time I was using it, just then, when I turn it on, the A will come up and then it will choose gas. So if we see that, A, and then it's chosen gas. Okay, so if you leave it on A, on automatic, it will just do its own thing forever, basically. So you can leave it on that one if you want to. If you prefer to do it manually, you can go through there. So you can select electric hookup. If you've got the hookup plugged in, it will start flashing red at us. So that's fine because there's no hookup in. You can manually select gas and it will light up for you by itself. Or if you've already pre-cooled the fridge on either one of these two, you can select 12 volt, which is for when your engine is running. Okay, so if I just explain that. So the 240 volt or the hookup and the gas are the only two ways that this fridge will get cold. Okay, the 12 volt when your engine's running is purely just to keep the temperature inside the fridge as you drive along. Okay, so that works off your split charger, which I will also mention in just a minute. So assuming that you've already pre-cooled the fridge on the mains or the gas, you can switch over to 12 volt as you drive away, or if you're leaving it on automatic, it should do that for you as you start the engine. Okay. So, a split charger, or sometimes people call them a split relay. What a split charger does is it essentially takes some power from the engine and sends it back to the habitation side of the vehicle. So the way it does that is you've got your alternator under the bonnet, which will charge up the engine battery just like any car does. But the split relay takes a little bit of that power and sends it back to the leisure battery and the fridge. All right, so that means that all the time that you're driving, the leisure batteries are getting a good charge up, and it means that you can keep the fridge cold as you drive from this little battery symbol here. So that's just a little brief explanation on split relays. So you've then also got the Dometic oven and grill up here. Now, if I'm completely transparent, it's not much of an oven, if I'm honest. I mean, I've got plenty of customers that do use these, use them as a proper oven. You can if you want to, but really it's going to be the grill that you're going to be using for the majority of the time, I should think. So to use it, you push in and round to the right for the grill. Make sure that lights up both sides and stays on. There you go. So there's your grill. And push in and round to the left. I'll just pop that down there for a second. In and round to the left for the oven. There you go. So that is your Dometic oven and grill. Okay. So I think that's about it for the front end. So this particular model has got the really nice pull-out island bed. So at the moment it's in its upright position, and to get it into that position there, all you had to do is lift up the handle here and push forwards. Okay, once you've lifted up the handle and pushed it all the way forwards, you can basically sit up in bed, and it gives you really good amount of space around the bottom of the bed here to walk around it. To pull it back out and lay it flat, we pull the handle up and pull towards us. And that is literally it. That's all you have to do. So that's so easy. Literally one hand. There you go. Super easy. So that is your island bed system there. This mattress would not have been cheap, because they do tend to have to be completely specially made. But yeah, there you go. So you've got the back end of this vehicle has also been really quite well laid out. So you've got this, what looks like an absolutely massive bathroom door. When you open it up, you can completely close it up against here, which it is made to do. That then means that you've basically broken off the back end to the front, and it means that you can basically have the bathroom separately from the front. You know, you can basically all separately use it. Now you've got as well this little pull-out piece here, which extends the bathroom out a little bit if you want it to, like that. Okay. You've then also got this curtain here, which comes all the way across to split the back end, this bedroom part, off from the front as well. So I'll close that back over, lock it in. So the bathroom, I don't tend to spend a lot of time in the bathrooms on the videos, to be fair, because there's just very rarely anything that I actually have to explain, because it's all quite self-explanatory. The only things I will point out in this vehicle is about the toilet, because not everyone's used one of these particular toilets before. The light switch is just down here. So the hot and cold water for the tap just there, nice and easy. You've got a heating vent just down here on the floor as well. And the actual toilet is, well, works like I'm going to show you now. So what you've got is a pulley just here at the front, which basically opens and closes the flap down there into the cassette. All right, so to empty it out into the cassette, you pull the handle towards you and it will drain whatever's in there down into the cassette. To get the flush to come round, you press the button just here, and assuming that you've got some water in your fresh water tank, it will pump the water around the bowl. And that is it. That is really all there is to it. You have then also got completely separate shower unit here. The button for the shower light is on the actual light itself, so you just, it's like touch screen. And I'm not going to show you the shower because I will get soaking wet, obviously. So literally hot and cold for that one there. Nice modern shower unit. But yeah, you've got two drains down there. So the reason they do that is because they can't obviously assume that you're going to be perfectly level on any specific site. So they always put the two drains, well, they don't always, but they should put the two drains in there so that it doesn't matter what angle you're at, it will always drain away. So there you go. Bit more storage under the floor here, I think. Yep, so just more access to your storage underneath in your double skin floor. And I think that is about it, really. Just checking this other side locker. Yeah, so I think I've covered everything, all the appliances and things. If there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.